Hey, it's MBS. This is how Mary Shelley inspired me to reinvent my newsletter. So I've stopped writing my newsletter, and I stopped because it had become less joyful for me. It just wasn't as thrilling as it once was. And in part, that's just part of the cycle. You know, I've been writing newsletters on and off for 20 years, and every now and then I get to a point going, you know, the mojo has gone. It's turned into an obligation, and when it turns into an obligation, I procrastinate, and everybody on the team gets wound up because Michael's draft of his newsletter was due 4 days ago, and where is it, and why are we still waiting? And I feel their pain, but I don't feel their pain enough to actually do anything about it. So I just stopped, and it was part of being here in Australia, because I'm here because my dad's not that well, and I've got my focus and attention on other things other than writing newsletters. So partly it was about clearing the deck, so I could help out with other things. But it was also just because it was one of the things I wanted to cut. I was no longer feeling the love. And I wasn't sure whether I was going to go back to writing a newsletter. I was like, can I find a way to do this? But in fact, I'd done the first important thing, which was just to stop. You know, there's so much temptation to, you know, just keep the things moving on if you're not sure of it. You know, keep doing it because, you know, why not? And there's a clear why not. Not only is there that opportunity cost of the time and the effort and maybe money that you take in doing the thing, but there's just an opportunity cost or a psychic cost, which is like you haven't yet acknowledged that this thing is not worth doing. So stopping was the first critical start of this. And then the second step, this is the Mary Shelley step, is stealing. So step number one, stop. Step number two, steal. I just started looking around going, all right, whose newsletters do I love? And not just newsletters, but who brings stuff into the world in a way that I admire and kind of makes me laugh, makes me think, and makes me smile. So I was looking at not just other newsletters, but, you know, YouTube people, TikTok people, anybody who's got theatre companies. I was just really kind of doing a little magpie thing, kind of going around and looking at what was out there. And just like Frankenstein's monster is made up of assorted parts put together and fused through lightning, I was doing the same. I was like, who will I take from? So I was looking at James Clear's newsletter, which has a bazillion subscribers, and I'm like, you know, I don't love the vibe of his newsletters. It's a bit austere, it's a bit serious, but I admire its structure a lot. He's got a 3-2-1 newsletter. I'm like, okay, there's something interesting about that. And then I looked at my friend Neil Pezrica and his amazing podcast, 3 Books with Neil Pezrica. And what I admired about that is he puts it out on random dates. They're not random, they're full moon and new moon. I'm like, well, I'm definitely going to take that. That's brilliant. And then other people like Austin Kleon's newsletter is wonderful. Jason Kotke's newsletter is wonderful. And there were actually a number of other newsletters who I'm like, they're wonderful, except I can't do what they're doing. I can't see anything that I can deliberately steal. But I started putting it together and going, all right, I think I've got an idea for what I want in my newsletter. And it's not about the content so much, it's about the structure. I was really starting to see how I could build a generic template of a newsletter that I could get reinvigorated with, and that I hope people would like to see and read and interact with. And then the third step of 3, stop, steal, is to start again. And that's partly what this video is about. It's the first video I'll be sharing that you get through the newsletter. But you've then got to start putting stuff out in the world, because only when an idea meets reality does it become a real idea. Is it really worth being tested? So who knows what's going to happen with the newsletter? It might maintain the teach, provoke, celebrate format that I think is going to work for it. Right now it might change, it might evolve. Somewhere down the line I'll get bored with it again and reinvent it again. But that's how I've been thinking about reinventing something, starting something afresh, and maybe you'll want to steal that strategy as well. Stop, steal, start.